So tonight, I'm really excited to talk to you, welcome you to the blog, because we are going to venture into Latin music.
Oh my
And
God.
we couldn't think of anyone better to talk to
Oh,
than
thank
you.
you. You're so sweet. Thank you, Ken.
Let's start with what you do, because just before we started, I
Mm.
think I told you I saw a piece of artwork in your yard that someone pointed out to me and said, you designed that.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, that's one of the things that I do when I, for example, get sick and I have nothing else to do and I can't move very much because, I have lupus, and I was diagnosed 3 years ago, but I'm doing fantastic thanks to a great diet and juicing and all that stuff. But when I was very sick, I wanted time to wait for me. And so I had like 20 watches. Some of them belong to Tristan Bowden.
I'm
And
sure he appreciates that.
oh, he's my dear love. I was very lucky to be married to him when we formed the Wild Clams, and I saved some of his watches. So I found them in a bag and I said, "Whoa, what a perfect thing. While I'm sick, I need time to wait for me." So I designed this beautiful kind of clock with a heart in the center, praying and asking the universe to hold time for me while I was recuperating.
Oh, so you wear so many hats. Now I
Mhm.
know you go back a ways to even Menudo, but you carried so many hats. You've written, you certainly perform, you
Yes.
write. What is your favorite role that you take?
I think my favorite role is to conduct the
Conduct.
Wild Clams. Yeah, to bring those great musicians, because there's so many of them, to bring them together and make them sound spectacularly.
Now,
Yeah,
for some of our viewers who are not familiar,
yeah.
first of all, the Wild Clams have an anniversary coming up, correct?
Yes.
At the going to be celebrated at the Catalina Jazz
Yes,
Club.
yes, at the Catalina Bar and Grill on Thursday, February 4th at 8
Oh,
o'clock. We're going to start.
and this
Yeah,
will be how many years for the Wild Clams?
25-year anniversary. Can you
That
believe
that
that?
deserves an award just to keep a group together.
I know it's been such a beautiful adventure. It's the places we've gone to and the records that we have made together and the fabulous musicians all over. I have to tell you, my success has been to be honored to play with the best musicians in the world, especially from here, from America, and of course from Cuba and from Puerto Rico and from, um, you know, everywhere in the world, really.
What is it about the Wild Clams that has kept the group going? And for those of our viewers who are not familiar, give us a little bit of an overview about the group.
Well, I always, I came to New York. Stan Getz and Steve Getz brought me from Peru to New York. They sent me a one-way ticket so that I was not to return. and and of course, in New York, the 10 years that I was living in New York, I had to learn all the standards and the Brazilian bossa novas and everything that was Latin based, Latin jazz based. Um, and I survived and I did wonderful recordings. I recorded with Willie Colon and Tito Puente and many other fabulous musicians in New York. But I always had a dream to write my own music. And I was very lucky when I got a call from Tom Regis, that was a producer from New York, but living in LA at that time. And he was working with Hilton Rosenthal, that was one of the producers on the Graceland album of Paul Simon. And they were looking for a Latin singer that could write songs. And of course I lied. I said, of course I can write songs. And Tom Regis had a lot of faith in me. He knew that I had it in me to write songs, right? And I had some ideas already. I started putting down and recording the ideas, and I flew to LA. And Hilton Rosenthal sat me down and said, "Well, what do you have?" And I presented my ideas, and he signed me on the spot. So from then on, I had to sit down and really write. So my friend Ralph Skelton set me up with he was the keyboard technician for Joe Zawinul, and he set me up with a keyboard and a Roland and drum machine that I learned to program. And I said, well, I put my hands on the keyboard. I said, who am I? And it all came to me. And well, I was born in Peru. I had the Afro Peruvian roots mainly, and of course I love Benny Moré and I love Tito Puente and I love Count Basie and James Brown and the Beatles. So I put it all in a pot and started stirring, and the first songs started coming out, and they were interesting enough for people like Luis Conte and Tristan Bowden and Vince Denham and Eric Jorgensen and every one of these great cats to want to be part of the project. I started calling the people that I always dream of working with, the people that I had read the credits of in albums, right? So who was in the Kenny Loggins band? Sorry, who was in the Kenny Loggins band at that time? Was Trist, Vince Dannon, George Hawkins. I said, well, those are the guys that I want. And then who is, who are the Horns of Tower of Power? Oh, well, Lee Thornburg is the trumpet player. Let's go Lee. And who is playing with Madonna? That's Luis Conte playing. And I started calling all the superstars that were the working recording musicians of Los Angeles. And people like Luis said to me, well, I would love to listen to the music. And I couldn't blame him. He wanted to know who was this crazy chick from Peru. And I play him my Roland drum machine demos of Don't Tell Nobody and my demo of Rain and another 6/8. It's a 6/8 groove, but it's really a 12/8 groove. It's an Afro-Peruvian rhythm that is 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 rang tu ku tu kun dang tu 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 tum bang chuku tu tum dang. You know what I mean? And people dance to that. It's so beautiful. But I thought to myself, oh, I can mix this with a 4/4 beat, so I can go and I taught Tris how to play, and he was like enchanted. So I could actually flirt with all these beautiful musicians with my music and my ideas, and I could tell them what I wanted. So that's how the first songs came about, and Hilton Rosenthal, of course, helped me record them in his studio, and we started shopping for deals, and the band was formed in 1991. We started playing in February of 1991, and we were like 22 people at first. What can I tell you? I was crazy. I had this sound in my head. The sound had to be big because I come from that background of Benny Moré and Count Basie and Dizzy Gillespie. You know what I mean? And Duke Ellington and James Brown. How could I not have a big band? And why could not, who was going to tell me not to? I thought I could have it all.
I don't think anyone could. You have always struck me, if I had to describe you in one word, it would be an innovator. You strike me as an artist who has refused to say this type of genre belongs with this person or
That's
this type
true.
of music.
Well, yes. I mean, trust me, I want the success. I want the international, the mainstream success too. And I think for a while, I know my music is danceable. My music is commercial enough for people to listen to. And in my heart, I want people to really learn about my music because like you say, I'm very eclectic, and I never settle for you have to write this way. You can only write for this genre. I'm all over the place because I'm a true I don't want to say I'm a true artist because this is so jive to say something like that and so pretentious. And I'm not about being pretentious. I'm about humor. You know what I mean? I love music, and I feel the music so passionately, and it moves me so well. I mean, when I was a little girl, I could hear the cajones and the congas with a tamal lady calling tamales, ricos tamales, and my God, my little body would like just I would get the spirit inside, and I had to run out the door and dance with those people. You know what I mean? it was just like the fire would go inside me that I had to dance and I had to move. So how could I settle for just a specific thing? I wanted just to create great music that would move people and that would make them happy. And
But you also decided to take certain genres like salsa and transform them. What is salsa?
salsa is a combination of salsa, and salsa was is a term that was born in New York out of the jazz arrangements and the Afro Caribbean rhythms and the son cubano, of course, and they all put it together. The New Yorkers, people like Johnny Pacheco and Willie Colon and all of them. I mean, wonderful musicians. I adore them. I learned so much from them, and of course I was hanging when I first came to New York. I was hanging with someone so brilliant like Jorge Dalto and his wife Adela Dalto, that is a great singer too, and they were embracing me into learning, from the Brecker brothers and from Ronnie Kubert. I mean, I was surrounded by the most incredible musicians, jazz musicians of New York. And at the same time, I was getting, because I was Latin, I was getting called to sing in the albums with Willie and all these fabulous musicians. So I started putting it all together. I started also making being part of the salsa scene, without really becoming a salsa singer, but listening to a lot of salsa arrangements mixed with jazz. And but my soul was with James Brown, because that was the discovery of my passion for American music, but was with James Brown when I was still in Peru and I was a little girl. And my God, when I heard Sex Machine, I I cannot. It would be so. I think it would be not good to tell you what I felt.
We'll hold that part off.
It was just like magic. It was like I was tripping. I was out of my mind. So I always wanted to mix salsa with soul, American soul music. Sly and the Family Stone, James Brown, Cold Blood. Do you know that band Cold Blood with that incredible singer Lydia? They're from the Bay Area. I adore them. And it's funny because they may not be the most famous band in the world, but for me certainly are the one of the greatest bands in the world and a great funk band. And so it is a little bit of that sound plus the Latin background that I have and the experience that I had recording and playing with all these great musicians from New York.
I want to tell you the one thing I was dying to ask you. You talk about taking music and transforming it. Now, we have a new album out.
Yes, I have. Oh,
And in listening to the
look
album,
at this. Look at this. Look.
hold that up for our
Oh
listeners.
my God. I love it. I love it. I love it. This is my,
Well, I have to tell you, I love
this
it
is
too,
part
Cecilia.
of my, thank you so much.
But I
this
want
has
to. But I
bring
want
me
to
so much
ask you.
happiness.
I want to ask you for our viewers.
Yes.
You are a passionate Latin artist.
Yes.
Yes. Yet I have to ask you. We go down side A,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got Cars by Gary Newman.
Yeah.
We have got Whip It by Devo.
Yes.
And we have You Shook Me by AC/DC.
Oh, you shook me all night long.
These are
Yeah.
not what I think most people would think are Latin
Of course not.
songs.
No, but this is well, in 1995, and Fred Beato knows this story very well because he was so instrumental in us going to take this trip to Cuba. I have to say, you were so wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah, we had the support of great people when they heard that we had been asked to do an cultural exchange with the group Synthesis led by Carlos Alfonso. And in 1995 was my first trip to Cuba with the Wild Clams, and it was a sensation. Havana went crazy. and they still talk about those concerts. We did a few concerts and some master classes, and we were so well received, so much love, and of course my relationship with the musicians from Havana started with Carlos Alfonso, particularly. That is like my godfather, and through the years, I kept going to, sing at the at jazz festival, invited by Chucho Valdez, and do many recordings with wonderful people there. So I had, I was getting sick with the lupus. I didn't know about it, but my producer, my co-producer we did a gozar with for Compass Records. He came because I couldn't write for a little while. He came up with the idea of taking 10 hits from the 80s, mainly from the 80s, and transform them into the Wild Clam style because it was just so, I don't know.
It's wild.
It's crazy.
It's
I mean,
wild.
who would do that? You're right. I mean, people have transformed. I mean, put a little conga and a maraca on certain songs, but we wanted to change them and really give them the proper respect also in transforming them into really great arrangements. So he knew that I could do that with the Wild Clams and with Eric Jorgensen, that is my right hand arranger. And with that, at that time, I had to take a trip to Mexico. And while I was in Mexico, I get a message from the wife of Carlos Alfonso, the singer Ele Valdez from Cuba. And she says, Cecilia, where are you? And I'm like, I'm in Mexico. Oh, we are in Mexico too. I said, no, it's not possible. Yeah, where are you? In what neighborhood are you? Oh, I'm in La Condesa. We are here too in La Condesa. They were around the same block, around the corner from the same block where I was staying. So they came over and I said, well, I have to do an album, but I think I'm not going to do it in LA. I'm going to have to go to Cuba to do it with you guys. So in 3 weeks, we put the production together because that's another thing that I do. I work really fast, and I put it all together. And in 3 weeks, I was in Cuba arranging and with this wonderful musicians, Gaston Joya, Michael Oliveira, Carlos Alfonso. We sat down and we came up with this incredible arrangements for these songs that Juan Pablo Faluca and I had picked. And of course, Colin Hay had helped me with The Boys Are Back in Town, for example. He thought it would be a fabulous thing to do a Thin Lizzy version in a Buena Vista Social Club style. So we sat down and in a week we were recording. And
If I had to pick one
amazing.
record for someone who's never heard Latin before,
Yeah.
this would be the record to start with.
Oh,
Because
that's
this will
wonderful.
get you started.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Was this a difficult record in the fact that you were doing it in Cuba at the time? Were there some logistical issues you ran into?
Absolutely. I had to ask the government, the US Treasury Department, for a special permission because I did my research and I knew that I needed a license in order to make it legal and distributed in America. Because of at that time we still had the embargo. It's only last year that the embargo has been lifted. So we had to wait and I waited a few months and the permit came through and I was able to do it uh, with, produce it really well legally so that I could bring it to America. Otherwise, it would have been very difficult. And especially, if an album goes number one or it has a lot of sales, I don't want to be in trouble.
Well, now,
I love my government here, so,
well, now hold on. Let's talk about how the album was received. This won the Cuba Disco Award,
yes.
didn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, imagine. Then the embargo starts getting lifted, and then, I get a call from Carlos Alfonso, and he says to me, oh my God, you've been nominated. You have been nominated for the Cuba Disco International Award. I was speechless. I was speechless because my relationship, making records or or traveling for cultural exchange into Havana has been since 1995, but I never thought that I would be considered for an award, an important award, because it's like the Cuban Grammy, is the equivalent of the Cuban Grammy, and to be considered for that. So I have a great artist that also worked with me in this album that I met in the sessions. His name is San Miguel Perez, and he's an incredible tresero. Tres is a three double string guitar. Is a traditional and national instrument from Cuba, and it's a beautiful instrument. And he played on most of the tracks of Havana Rocks. So he had come to America, and I needed at that time another guitar player because Toshi Yanagi was going to do a tour in Japan. So I brought him from Tampa and said to him, if you like LA, you can stay and we can work together. And of course, now we just have finished, Colin and I and San Miguel, producing the first solo album of San Miguel Perez that we're going to release in March, in February, actually, or March. And he had to go back to Cuba, and I had to go and be at the award ceremony. So we flew together, and we flew in together, and Carlos Alfonso was waiting for me. And a couple of days later, I was in the middle of the sweaty Havana. I was in the ceremony, and they call everybody's name except for me, and I was like so sad. I thought, well, I'm not gonna win anything. I think I just came for a nice time, a trip, But Papa Carlos, I call him Papa Carlos Alfonso. Papa Carlos said to me, wait, maybe the awards are not over. And then one of the last awards and one of the last names to be called was mine. And we received the award, and it was just a dream come true, really. Because to be recognized by such an incredible group of musicians, and in an environment that music matters so much, because that's the one thing that in los cubanos, the Cuban people love music, and they breathe music, and they live for their music. So to be honored by them was a beautiful, beautiful moment for me.
So, as the spokeswoman for the genre in this country, what would you like to see? What are you looking to develop as as a further growth of the Latin music for the people who are not aware? What would you like to see? Where would you like the genre to go?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I go to a lot of shows here, and I go to a lot of Latin shows, and I love going out dancing with fabulous bands. There's some great bands, great singers, but there's lack of original music. And if one thing I have done, and people may like my music or not, but one thing I've done is write songs, and write and really think about how to make a great song fit into this genre of Latin music, or salsa, like I call it, because of the mixture of things that I do. So I think that people have to keep writing good songs, not just jams, because it's very easy. It's very easy to put together, and there's fantastic songs that are played over and over, like Oye Como Va, and songs by Tito Puente or Una Mañana. There's great music that has been written, but the new bands or the people that are playing clubs, they have to keep writing to make Latin music and this wonderful rhythms keep growing. But we need more original material. That's what I think. I think it's very important to keep writing. Everything is about the song. You know what I mean? If you don't have the song, you don't have a great arrangement, I mean, you can always put horns and congas and bata drums or whatever you want, or timbales, but you need a good song. You need a song that people will not only dance to, but will like want to listen to lyrics or even have a great time, but something that is not just the same old things that we listen to over and over again.
I know you've done so much in your career, and you're so passionate, it's obvious, about your art. Where for Cecilia have you not gone yet that you're thinking, I'd like to go there?
I want to go to Japan. I've been to Japan in other trips when I was more of a dancer, when I was with Jojo Smith and I was living in New York. I've been there twice, but I've not gone there as a as a singer, and I would like my music to travel farther. I mean, I have a lot of fans in Europe, but I want to keep touring, and of course I would like to have the support um, of a number one hit on the radio to make me to give me the opportunity to travel the world with the band, because I think that there's something spectacular about the Wild Clams. There is undeniable all these years, and we look 25 years, and everyone's still playing so beautifully and fantastic, and their music keeps going. But I would like to tour more. I would like to tour more, and I definitely would like to get to Asia, to Japan, to China, to travel those places with the Wild Clams.
You would prefer studio or live performance?
Both. I adore the studio. Oh my
I am
God.
surprised by that. I would think because of your
Oh,
passion and the way you are and how electric you are in
yeah.
person, I would think for sure it'd be a live performance.
Well, the live performance is undeniable. I live to believe me. I'm. You don't want to be around me if I don't have a show in 2 months. Within 2 months, I become very sad. But working in the studio and having this fabulous studio, thank God, to work with and to record. And also remember, when I record, the majority, I mean, most of the time, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 20 musicians here, and we play live, and we do 1 or 2 takes, and the song is done because because that's what I do. Like you asked me, one of the first things that you asked me was, "What do you like doing the best?" And it's ensembling things. So for me, the studio is a magical place of for creation.
It's incredible.
Love it.
It's incredible
Love it.
because your electricity just comes through, your passion, and I really
Thank
can't
you.
think of any other artist if someone wants to learn about not just Latin, but how to write, how to innovate, and how to do so much. I thank you so much, and we thank you on Beatles
Oh my
Blog for
God.
spending some time with
I
us,
love you guys. Thank you so much. You guys are doing this blog, and you are interviewing incredible musicians, including Tris.
including you.
Oh, including me. Oh, thank you so much. I am very honored. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much. I hope that everyone comes to Thursday, February 4th, to Catalina Bar and Grill.
Folks, all I could say is I will confess I did not know too much about Latin music before this project. I now know more. I love it. And I would say if you want to check out one artist to find out what it's all about, the live performance, the passion, the energy that goes into this, check out this lady, Cecilia Noel. She is an all-star. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to meet
Thank you,
you.
Cecilia.
All right, darling.
For Beatles Blog, this is Cabo. See you next time.